Well, Michigan State creates the not fun part of Old Yeller against Washington in basketball. We'll talk about that, but first, Michigan State football, massive, massive portal target on campus right now. We talk about it all with MSU Chief of Propaganda.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, win or lose. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, shout out especially to those listening live right now on YouTube. That's right, me and the MSU Chief of Propaganda, Odell Brentham Jr. We are just hitting it right after Michigan State wins against Washington. One Skrillion to 54. We will talk about that game in segments 2 and 3, but first we're going to do football. But, I got to say, since basketball is of mine right now, Chief, one word to describe that basketball game as Michigan State won 88 to 54 if you want a real score. Again, we're going to get back to basketball, but one word to describe that game we just watched on Big Ten Network.
Vintage.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like I'm watching
yes.
just one of a classic Tom Izzo team where we're just gonna I tweeted it, but we're just gonna rip your love of the game of basketball away from you, and that's gonna be one of the wins we take away from each matchup we have.
I love that. And so, look, attending that game, not just the Izzone alumni, which you guys did fantastic out there, by the way. You guys always do. That's 10 straight wins in front of the Izzone alumni. But, Chief, we had a massive, massive football portal target in attendance. He goes by the name of Connor Moore. All right, just a quick little rundown on him. 6'5", 310-pound redshirt sophomore last season for Montana State. Okay, guys. FCS first-team All-American, first-team All-Big Sky last year. The year prior, All-FCS freshman All-American per FCS Central. Guys, he was a recent add to the portal, like he just went in, well, because Montana State just lost in the FCS title game, played their hearts out against North Dakota State. Close game. It was a really entertaining watch. But more than 900 snaps last year in 16 games. His first 3 games he played at left guard. The rest of the season played at left tackle. Michigan State needs a tackle. In those 16 games, he allowed 1 sack, just 11 pressures in 16 games. Now, over at 24/7 Sports, they have him as the 10th best-rated tackle to hit the portal this cycle, but more importantly, he's the best one that has not committed anywhere. Cincinnati already got the first visit. He's on Michigan State's campus right now, and he also will visit Ohio State. He's an Ohio-born and raised kid, so it's going to be tough beating 2 home state teams in Cincinnati and, of course, juggernaut Ohio State, certainly. But I don't think I'm mincing words. I don't think I'm over-exaggerating. I don't think I'm blowing smoke when I say that this would be Michigan State's biggest portal get should they land Connor Moore. Am I getting ahead of my skis right now, Chief, or is it just pretty apparent that, Michigan State could really use this kid's services here?
No, I think you look back at some of the portal targets we've gotten. Obviously, Aiden Childs, that was sort of a given that we're going to get this.
Yeah,
I'm looking back at the past couple seasons, and obviously Kenneth Walker is going to be the name that grabs the attention, but that was kind of an unknown at the time. Mm-hmm. But in terms of actual portal battles, you're going against Ohio State. And if people didn't realize, this kid's going to be visiting there Saturday after Ohio State likely wins a college football playoff game to advance to the national championship on Friday night. So being able to win this battle for a kid this talented who is at a premium position is probably going to be the difference between us having a team that can win 8-9 games as opposed to you're battling for a bowl game. I'm not saying just one player is going to determine that, but I think the importance of having a great offensive line, which he gives us, is what makes that difference.
It is twofold why this would be so big. It's who you would beat. You would beat Ohio State for this kid. And by the way, Ohio State, 6 portal additions in their off seasons. I guess I shouldn't say off season. They're still very much in their season. You get what I mean? 6 portal additions so far. 2 of them are offensive tackles. So again, I'm not saying that, hey, write Ohio State off. That'd be silly to do that. We all know that. But hey, still beating Ohio State. Well, that'd be massive. That might be the biggest win for Jonathan Smith. And there's no shortage. There's Jace Clarizio. He beat Alabama for him. Nick Marsh's recommitment over Penn State and other schools. And also, well, what happened with tampering for Nick Marsh. Of course, that was a big win too. But, man, it's just on the field because, Chief, I know we're in very good moods right now. Michigan State basketball is rolling. Football off season is largely positive. But quick refresher. Not great offensive line play last year, specifically from the right side of that line. They allowed 31 pressures. That was eighth most in Power 5 football. 7 sacks. That was tied for the third most amongst Power 4 teams, I should say. Can't state the importance of what this would mean just optically to win over Ohio State, but also what this would mean on the field. You need a strong offensive line to win football games. If you haven't learned that lesson by now as a Michigan State fan, I don't think you ever will, but this would be big time. Now, how would it work? Do you put Stanton Ramel at right tackle? Would he even go for that? Can you even convince Connor Moore, hey, young man, go ahead. I know left tackle is what you want to play, but you got to be right tackle. I don't know how it's going to work, quite frankly, but just get the hay in the barn and get this commitment. It would just be absolutely massive, Odell. It would really make us feel a lot better going into the offseason because right now, I already had a few episodes about this. Offensive line is still a little bit of a question mark, even with the addition of Matt Golden, who's a pretty good interior offensive lineman and proven in Power 4 football. But this would make you feel just all sorts of nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're looking at a kid with Connor Moore who's I'm not going to get too crazy here and say he's going to be a top 10 draft pick, but I mean, he's going to go into next season with some sort of buzz like, okay, he's got the potential as a left tackle to be a day 2, day 3 draft pick at that position. So, and then you move Stanton Ramel to potentially right tackle. You're looking at 2 very solid positions there. And the buzzword that everybody likes to use is positional versatility on the offensive line. Someone goes down, hey, we can move Stanton Ramel to left tackle. You did not have that this year. You're pulling kids that instead of doing the Buick kick from the car, you had Buick do the kick out and you can play right tackle for us.
Buick blind spot. That's right. You get to play left tackle for 10 snaps, young man. Congratulations. No, you didn't like Raheem Johnson, the true freshman interior offensive lineman, getting his first start at left tackle against Ohio State. That didn't really get your jollies going over there? No? Okay.
I mean, it did after I saw him play, but leading into it, I'm like, okay,
decent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, guys, like you know the issues that we have with the offensive line. They're trying to patch it up. Of course, we just mentioned Matt Golden, but this would be big. Going to be a tough battle. That's been stated. Yes, he's already visited Cincinnati and the town that he's from in Ohio. Like, it's not in Cincinnati's backyard. It is a suburb of Toledo, if you will. So I don't know if that is going to keep you up at night, just locationally where he is in the state of Ohio. I'm very invested in this one for a good reason, so keep your eye on that. We're going to flip the page, just some quick hitting notes here. We also got seemingly our 18th wide receiver transfer portal get today, Rodney Bullard. And you need this many wide receivers out of the portal because I'll say the stat for the 1,000th time. Nick Marsh is the only kid returning from last year's team that recorded any stats in that wide receiver room. So, out of Valdosta State, who, by the way, only lost 1 game this year, Rodney Bullard, their top receiver, 1,001 yards, 12 touchdowns. Fine. Out of Division II school, produced there. I don't know if he's going to start, but it's just one of your first guys off the sideline for a receiver. I don't know. Like, I can't get upset about that by any means, Chief. I don't think we're doing propaganda, just like your name says. I think there's actually some credence to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough at this point when it's still a position of need, in my opinion, to turn down. And listen, you produce at college at the college level, whether it's, I mean, we just talked about an FCS kid. You talk about somebody who's come in from a similar level and produced at some incredible numbers. So, hey, bring him in the fold. You don't know what's going to happen. You play alongside Nick Marsh, McCray, you have Aiden Childs thrown to you. I mean, there's going to be an opportunity for that young man to come up and really hopefully make a name for himself and continue on that trajectory of just being a dominant wide receiver wherever he plays.
Yeah, and just another pickup of a guy who has produced like majorly at a lower level. That's kind of been the theme of this portal cycle. I don't hate that strategy in theory. We'll see if it works out in practice here coming up. But just one more quick hitting note about the portal, Mason Minnie. He has won the Keon Stewart Spartan Dog for Life Award. He has already flipped his commitment from Michigan State to Cal. He was a tight end from Idaho. Good luck to Mason Minnie. All right, we're going to talk about this basketball game. Chief, we got a lot to talk about. That was almost inhumane what they did to the Huskies. But first, I need to talk everyone's ear off about, that's right, TurboTax, its new friend of the program, guys. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Are you tired of the endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions, whether you've got one form or 20. TurboTax Experts gives your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll have to get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Well, head on over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Now let's drag it back out here to talk about this wonderful basketball game. We'll say the score again. Michigan State 88, Washington 54. I don't think I'm, getting too cheery or a little too drunk off the green and white juice by saying, Chief, it wasn't even that close. It was not even that close, I think. It felt like a 60-point game.
Well, it would have been. I thought the officials tonight were absolutely horrible.
I didn't want to say anything. I do. Okay.
They were horrible. Listen. If there's one thing you and I are, it's consistent, and I think just the officiating thing for this. It was. There's been a couple cases this year where the officials have been bad, but tonight was just truly awful.
I think it was in the first half. MSU was up 26 and Zapala clean block, and they called that a foul. And I really had like an introspective look. I was like, do I need help? That I'm actually upset that I just saw that and they called that a foul on us. But no, I'm glad that we're in the same camp here. That makes me feel a lot better. Hey, I'm going to ask you what was more impressive, offense or defense tonight. But first, Chief, I have some stats I want to rattle off here because I want you to name me the most impressive stat of the four that I'm about to rattle off right now about tonight's game. Number one, well, that's 10 straight wins for the Izzone alumni, okay? And this is from friend John Kirby. He does great work, the only podcast with Austin Smith. He pointed this out too. Michigan State isn't just winning these games in front of the Izzone alumni. They have now beat the spread by an average of 10 points in the last 8 of those games. Now, for the third stat, Nick Sanders tonight scored more field goals than $2 million transfer, Great Osabor, over there at Washington. Okay, Nick Sanders, of course, made one shot. Great Osabor, 0 for 8 from the floor. And the last stat I have for you, now this is a legit stat. This is what you pay the big bucks for. Michigan State is now 13-1 in games on or the day before or the day after Anthony Ianni's birthday, dating back to Anthony Ianni's freshman year at Michigan State. 13-1. When that game is played within 24 hours before or after his birthday. You like that? So of the 4 hard-hitting stats I gave you, Odell, what one is tickling you the most over there?
I got to go with the great Osabar having less field goals made tonight than Nick Sanders. And I got to give a shout-out to Spartan Dog 12. Our good friend Mitch here, he said... Sure. Called him below average Osabar, and I saw some other names out there, not so good Osabar, and all that stuff. So, yeah, and I think Tom Izzo would agree with us just because we know his feelings on the portal and these negotiations and these kind of hostage negotiations, as I'm sure this case was with not so good Osabar here. So I that brought Tom Izzo a ton of joy. That somebody who cost $0 had more field goals made than somebody who's making as much as a Big Ten coach.
No one has looked better so far this season. Like on the team, and there's been a lot of incredible players so far from Michigan State. No one has looked better than Tom Izzo, though, with how he's handled the portal. And even like their top guy, Frankie Fiddler, he's he's like the 10th guy. Okay, we're not going to make this a Frankie Fiddler conversation, but like Izzo, yeah, it turns out that the Hall of Fame coach was right, and idiots like myself probably didn't know what they were talking about in the offseason. But regardless, let's move it on here because, Odell, I got to know, in this game, what impressed you more, the offense or the defense? I'm going to give you a quick tale of the tape right now. For the defense, I'm just going to go with first half stats when this game was still somewhat barely even slightly competitive. This was the lowest Big Ten opponent first half scoring against Michigan State since 2009 to 2010. All right, they didn't allow a field goal until 9:33 left in the half. They went 0 of 14 before that. They went 0 of 7 from 3 in the first half. Michigan State had 5 steals, 3 blocks. Odell, Michigan State's defense was so good, they held Washington to just 3 of 8 from the free throw stripe. They were living rent-free in their heads. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, Michigan State in the first half, 17 fast break points, 25 combined points from Jeremy Fears, Jaden Akins, Jace Richardson, again, all in the first half, and then 12 assists on 14 made baskets in the first half. For the whole game, 11 guys scored, 44 points in the paint, 28 fast break points, and Jaden Akins, too, just to pull him out individually, 6 straight games in double-digit scoring. So, after all those stats and all that just mumbo-jumbo, what has impressed you more about tonight's beatdown? Was it the defense or the offensive side of the ball today?
I'm going to go with the defense because it was fun, and I enjoyed sending screenshots to friends and family members who couldn't care less about what's going on with this game, where Washington had 1 point 10 minutes into the game. I just had a blast with that. And I think there was a certain point, I don't have the timestamp, but fans at the game actually had earned more chicken nuggets from Washington missing back-to-back free throws than Washington had points at a certain point, which, I mean, that will never happen.
Wow.
Again. So that just kind of shows the pure and utter just dominance and of what was going on in that game. And I think that's what really set the tone for the offense, because I thought this is the best Jeremy Fears has looked on offense, in my opinion, just in terms of his being comfortable shooting threes, taking jumpers, and just really attacking the lane. Obviously, other guys look good, and I got to give credit to Jackson Kohler. I thought he did a great job. I mean, last year, a rebound would come and it'd bounce off his hands, and this year, I mean, I trust him as much as I trust Amon-Ra St. Brown to catch like a crucial third down conversion here. So those are the 2 best hands people I can think of right now.
Just to rattle off the Fierce box score right now, 10 assists, just 1 turnover, and he also had 12 points. 10 of those came in the first half. So, Jeremy, I liked how aggressive he was on offense early. That was wildly impressive from him. I do want to make one more mention of Jeremy Fears in his first half, but also I just super duper quick. Dre Hallman, solid game too, 11 points. I just thought the whole guards in total, I'll just read off the whole guard point total here: 12 for Fears, 20 for Akins, 11 for Hallman, and then Jace Richardson, he played on fire today, 12 points, which seemed like 22 points. So really strong play from the guards in this one. Defensively, though, to flip it to the other side of the ball before we move topics of conversation, they even mentioned this on the broadcast too. Washington is a team that wants to whittle this shot clock down, with 8 seconds left, if you will, 6 seconds left. They want to see where they can finally make the defense crack. 404 error not found. There was no cracking from this defense. Every single shot they took to start this game was a chore. So top 40 offensive efficiency, top 40 defensive efficiency for Michigan State. That doesn't even paint a good enough picture of how good this defense really can be, though. So I'm just overall over the moon with how Michigan State's been playing so far this year. I know it's not the strongest Big Ten slate so far. There will be tougher teams, but man, what more could you expect over, beating the brakes off Nebraska, beating the brakes off Washington? I'm delighted, just in a word, Odell.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about Jace Richardson having 12 points. He also had as many steals as he had field goals made today. So 5 and 5 there. And he also had 2 blocks. So, I mean, his impact is absolutely incredible, and I think there's going to be parallels drawn to sort of a Gary Harris type impact as a freshman on both ends of the floor, and kind of what it would mean if he were to return. Obviously, those conversations are long in the distance here, but that's sort of where you start to think of impact-wise where he is currently at and where he's going to be heading as well.
And I also want to ask you, like, what you have learned about the team today, even though we're like roughly halfway through the season. We're still learning new lessons. And also, not to just beat a dead horse, but we are, in honor of Great Osobor, making $2 million to transfer to Washington. We're going to talk about what we would do with $2 million and a few other things. Look ahead at this Northwestern game coming up on Sunday. But first, I need to talk everyone's ear off about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's best sportsbook out there, guys. And I made a final score bet. All right, it was bet $1 to win $250 over on FanDuel. I said Michigan State's going to win this thing 81-69, and that went up in flames immediately. But you know what didn't go up in flames? The over Jeremy Fear's 6.5 assists. That's right, because FanDuel, even during snoozers of games, when your Michigan State Spartans are bludgeoning the other team, well, FanDuel helps keep it exciting, and they will also make NFL playoffs even more exciting than they already will be, because right now for new customers, well, you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, guys, new customers get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's over at FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now let's drag it back out here. It is MSU Chief of Propaganda, and no propaganda pushing today. Like, this is genuine, earnest, positive talk about Michigan State after, the big visitor on campus, the bigger win that we saw in the basketball court here. And with that win against Washington, still perfect in Big Ten play, is there anything you learned about this team, or just anything, Odell? Or it's easy to pass the buck because in a dang near 40-point win, it's okay to not learn anything. But I just got one thing. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think that this team has the DNA and composure of a championship level team. I think you see that in terms of, even last year when the team wasn't, obviously wasn't as good as anticipated, but when they play competition that was lower than them, they would play to that level. There was never, in the past 3 years, there was never a situation where you were beating teams like this. And if I can't think of a single example of feeling comfortable for more than a couple minutes with one of these games. Last year this team would have won this game by 10 points. And so I think that that's really my main takeaway. It's obviously the schedule hasn't been as tough as anticipated early on here in the Big Ten slate, but this is what great teams do to bad teams. They destroy them, and that's what we're doing. And we look good doing it too. It's not like it's not, these are not ugly wins. It is just, we out rebound everybody. We play great defense. 3-point shots aren't going down. We'll miss them. We'll grab the rebound, kick it out, and try again. And Tom, and I think you see it with Coach Izzo too, where he's calling a timeout down 37 just rag on somebody. You see Jeremy Fears taking responsibility in those huddles where Tom Izzo's ripping into his guys. He's like, hey, that's on me. That's on me. So I think the accountability is there, and they're very a coachable group.
Jackson Kohler going for loose balls, up 35 points. You'd think you're down 3 with under 2 minutes to go with his effort, constantly. I'm glad you brought up the 3-point shooting too, because going back to that first half, I just pulled it up. Michigan State went 3 of 13 from behind the arc. It's not like they went white hot from behind the line to get, or behind the arc to go up 30 points at halftime. They just got it done by defending, rebounding, and running out there. And just also, like I said earlier, 12 assists on 14 made shots in that first half. So the thing I learned about this team today, and maybe I think I'm learning this a little too late here. This is probably embarrassing, but the old cliche, for us talking heads is, hey, the team needs a guy. They need someone that they can go to. And you know what? Maybe it's okay to just not have a guy. And again, I'm learning this very late in the season right now, but as I'm looking at Fears leading the team in scoring with 10 points, and I'm thinking to myself, dang, if he ends this game as the leading scorer, that would be the 9th separate Spartan to lead a game in scoring, meaning that there's been 8 separate guys that have been the game-high guy for Michigan State so far this year. There is so much parity on this roster. Maybe it's okay not to have a guy that you absolutely need down the stretch that can just be all reliable, because if you're just talented and deep enough, well, everyone can just share a little bit of that pie whenever it is their turn. Also, really quick, I learned something about myself today, because I've always wondered, I'm really tense during these games, like many Michigan State fans are. I finally learned the threshold of what has to happen for me to finally relax and have a steady heart rate in the first half, and that is being up literally 30 points. I felt a wave of calmness over me, and it's like, oh, I've never felt like this before in my entire life. Even up 25 in the first half, I've been like, oh, no, don't foul him. I was actually calm at halftime. I read my child a book at halftime with no quiver in my voice. That's what has to happen. Just 30 points. That's not a lot to ask for over there. How about you? What does it have to be in the first half for you to actually, like, chill? Are you a healthy person? Are you normal? Does it have to be like 10 points, or where are you at?
I think it's more so a feel for how the team's playing more than anything. Like, I mean, we've had games where we go into halftime, we're up 15. I'm like, all right, like, we're pretty fortunate to be up. But yeah, I think tonight, like, obviously it was very clear when Washington at 1 point 10 minutes, and it was also nice not seeing any tweets on the timeline tonight where it's like, okay, Michigan State's lead down to 28 or down to 27. Right. Some people like to give a countdown like the New Year's Eve balls dropping in Times Square. Shout out to Slim Nick right there. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm glad that we found that threshold for you, and hopefully the higher powers up in East Lansing can take note of that and make sure we can kind of coast into the tournament here.
I love that. Look, not to just be like the meanest person in the world, but I just am still enamored that Washington forked over $2 million for a single player. And I get, like, if you're a program like Kentucky or Kansas, you are one piece away and you really need a good player. Go ahead and spend that money. For Washington to drop $2 million on a single player where they are very clearly, like we saw today, roughly 5 pieces away and not just one, it makes me scratch my head. And I got to ask, what would you spend $2 million of your hard-earned dollars on should you have that kind of disposable income to spend? Is there anything that pops to mind? Because right now, I got to shout out the Alumni Izzone again. That would come out if you divided it, $2 million by 1,500. That's roughly the capacity for the Lower Bowl Izzone, how many Alumni Izzone members there were today. It's about $1,300. I would, instead of pay for one center in a middling season that's going to go nowhere, I'd rather give every Alumni Izzone member round-trip flights and hotels to a road game somewhere out west, whether it be Washington next season, the USC-UCLA game this year. Just treat them to a nice little trip. I feel like that'd make people a lot more happy than just whatever's going on at Washington. No disrespect to that program, except a lot of disrespect. But what would you spend $2 million of your donor dollars on, Mr. Chief?
Yeah, so what I would do is probably, I've gone back and forth on this. I've had some ideas that I can share here, and some I'm sharing offline.
Sure, we'll do that for Locked On After Dark. Yeah, we'll
right. The OnlyFans Locked On here.
Yes.
No, so what I would do is I was debating whether am I giving that $2 million to Connor Moore, because I need to just witness an offensive line that can pass protect and run block like just an average college football team. But what I settled on was, listen, we're going above and beyond here for our students. I think that they've earned the right to have winning sports teams, and what comes with that as well is the experience of kind of the fans being really engaged. So I'm alcohol, I'm getting seat warmers, I'm doing whatever it takes. Food vouchers, and then I'm just giving the students free tickets and whatever else at Spartan Stadium and at the Breslin to ensure that they are as raucous as possible, getting in the heads of opponents, whether it be throwing snowballs at James Franklin, anything, just to give us that edge. Because, I mean, the prime Spartan football era of just toxic fans and whatnot, just creating that home environment. That's what I would do. I would spend $2 million just doing whatever it takes to get people in the stadium early, keep them there, keep them loud, and then make sure they don't leave. So along with that is also getting Connor Moore.
Sure. That was a good answer. That's going to keep the Mount Pleasant Police Department off our backs here. So I do appreciate you leaving off some of the other ideas. Much appreciated here, both for the show and just for both of our freedoms right now. I did have one more food idea. And look, you take all the home games Michigan State plays. You divide that by 15,000. Okay, that's the capacity of Breslin Center. And then, you had $2 million. I'm not going to claim to know the math formula. What I do know is that would come out to roughly $6 per fan per game perfect for one Melting Moments ice cream sandwich for every single fan during every home game at Breslin Center. So that's what I would rather spend $2 million on instead of just like a good center. Obviously, he wasn't good tonight, but even a good center is more than you need to win basketball games in the Big Ten. So that's where I'm going to net it out at. Let's get back to actual brass tacks. I went way off on a tangent there. Sorry about that. But there is a game Sunday. Super quick preview. Sorry, guys. But Northwestern, they will be hosting Michigan State. That's right. Our Spartans hit the road again in the Big Ten. Now the Wildcats are 10-5 on the season, 1-3 in Big Ten play. But I will say this, all three of those losses are on the road. And that one win, well, that's a home win against Illinois, who is a buzzsaw so far this year. Northwestern right now at time of recording, according to Torvik, favored by 1 against our Spartans. Again, they haven't, tabulated anything that happened tonight against Washington. So that's going to be a pick'em game. But it's going to be a tough game here. Look, Northwestern really good defensively. They're top 40 in defensive efficiency. 7 of their top 8 players are either juniors or seniors. And Chief, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know Boo Buie will find a way to play in this game. Don't you have that hunch as well?
Yeah, that was going to be my first question. Are we sure? Because there's been some recent...
I'm not.
Lawsuits that have gone on where JUCO gets an extra year and all that. I saw one recruit today where their time clock ran out. I didn't even know that was a thing. So maybe this kid's time clock got reset. So I mean, I don't know, but as long as Boo Buie is not playing, I feel good about kind of the headspace where our team is right now, and I think being able to go in that game, and obviously you look at the spread, it's 1 for Northwestern, which gives me a little bit of confidence here that there's a feeling Michigan State's going to perform pretty well here, and I'm looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be a really good kind of barometer because after that you look at you got Penn State coming up, then obviously that tilt with Illinois, which is what everybody's looking forward to. So but this one is it's going to be kind of I'm not going to hand out program win hats for playing Northwestern, but it's going to be a very important game to understand truly what the psyche of this team is and ultimately what they can achieve moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think program win hats are necessary. Against Ohio State, I should say, where it's those kind of games where you're slight underdogs. Those are what keeps you in the Big Ten title chase, right? Because look, we're having fun. This is great. Michigan State's going, they're hot. They're going to lose 6 or maybe even 7 games. It's these fringe underdog games that you have to win on the road in conference play that's going to keep you alive here. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. It would be a big win. Maybe not program win worthy, but hey, you know what? Just keep on pace with the Big Ten title chase because, oh God, it's getting hot. Chief, anything you want to leave us with before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your weekend here?
No, I'm just excited for Spartan Nation here and really looking forward to kind of what's to come. So I appreciate you for having me on tonight.
Hey, you're the best. Guys, we will be back after Sunday, whether win or lose, because that's what we do here at Locked On Spartans. We do it 5 days a week. Now take care of yourselves this weekend. Let's mix in the water. Love you all. Go green.
Go white.